Hi, Jamie Edwards here, and uh, welcome to What is the Winning Parent? And I'm going to explain about what the winning parent is shortly, but I think first of all, you would get a better idea of knowing who I am and where my passion comes from for working with this category of individual in sports. My background, my heritage is I'm a performance coach. I have a heritage of working with elite athletes across different sports, and my own sport was that of basketball. I'm a former international basketball player. I know I'm always told that I'm vertically challenged, 5'6", but I used to switch those numbers around and say that I'm 6'5". And I got my own mental skills from a mentor called Alton Bird, who was probably arguably the best American basketball player ever to come to the UK. And Alton used to say to me, he said, Jamie, the difference between you and the next player isn't talent or ability, it comes down to how you think. And that stuck with me for a very long time, which is probably why I do what I do today. Helping young people go to another level, or helping elite athletes. Those athletes that I've worked with include somebody like Freddie Flintoff, who was going into the biggest event of his life, the Ashes, and we would accept that he's probably trained his technique, he's trained his body, but he left out training his brain. And the pressure got to him, the expectations got to him, and all we did was add certain things during that summer that took his game to a different level. And I've worked across different sports like golf with some of the top golfers in the world, and in rugby, people like Lewis Moody, who is probably the most skeptical person that I've ever met in sports or business. I'll never forget Lewis saying that if I have to sit down and talk to somebody about how I think, that's got to be a sign of weakness. And yet, the whole approach to training your brain is a very practical approach. It's got to be something that you can do. And so, I spend lots of my time traveling around the country, around Europe, in Asia, helping people go to a different level. So let's come back to what this seminar is about, which is the winning parent. My passion for this is that I've had lots of experience working with young people, and I get calls from parents who say, can you work with my son or daughter? And I often say, is it your son or daughter I need to be working with, or is it you? Because parents, and I'm a parent myself, we're often given we're not given tools or ideas or concepts to help with coaching our children, let alone in sports, but in life in general. So I remember getting a call from a mum in Dublin, and her son had literally been exposed to two incidents, one in a run-of-the-mill sports day, and another was an international sports trial. And that exposure to two small incidents had led to a lack of confidence and anxiety, and it led to depression and the whole aspect of his performance. And a very talented young man in academics, sports, music, very confident in all areas of his life. And so she sends him to me because she just said, I want my son back. And she didn't have the tools to be able to help him out of that headspace where he was. And so I see parents like this all the time. I see them on the sidelines like you do. Everybody knows a parent who's on the sideline, who's shouting inappropriate things to the team or to their son or daughter. Everybody knows a parent who's got a relationship with the coach where it's become a difficult relationship. Everybody knows a parent whose expectations of what their son or daughter in sports they want to be doing. And the whole seminar is geared to giving them tools, practical tools. And it's what I call a conversation. And the difference between a chat and a conversation, so it's 2 hours of a seminar. The difference between a chat and a conversation is simply this. And I got this lesson from a builder several years ago. And my builder said to me, he said, Jamie, I need my information. And I said, go and see Keith. Keith was the architect. And he came back to me and said, look, Keith keeps saying, we'll have a chat, we'll have a chat. He said, I'm sick of having chats. When are we going to have a conversation? And that became the mantra on the building site. He'd ring me up and he'd say, can I see you? And I'd say, is it a chat or a conversation? And he'd say, it's a chat. And I'd go, because he was also a big, strong bloke as well. If it was a chat, nothing had to be done. But when he said it was a conversation, that meant everybody knew that there was a different focus, action had to be taken. Now, nothing improves in your sport or in business or in life until people have honest conversations about where they are and about where they want to go to. And so the whole seminar is about the parents, the coaches, the mentors of these athletes at clubs having the honest conversation about their state of mind, about how it affects their children or the players, how it affects the environment. It's an honest conversation about giving them the communication tools. So when little Johnny comes home from the game and he's not played well, what do you say? How do you say it? When do you say it? It's about how to communicate with the coach and improve the coach relationship. So it's not so much a chat, it's giving them the things that they can actually do and walk out the door and apply immediately. I guess the other aspect for parents is that the principles have not changed for success, whether it's again in this generation and the generation before. I get parents and coaches and educators who are pulling their hair out saying, why do they not think like me? Why do they not think like us? And those old-fashioned values of hard work, commitment, etc. have not changed. But what has changed is how they think. I'll never forget, I do this seminar every year at the All England Tennis Club where I coach, and one of the parents said to me, he said, if my son had my head on his shoulders, he'd be the next Roger Federer. And I said, well, unfortunately, he doesn't have your head on his shoulders and never will. And it kind of highlights that, this generation, as an example, they've never known how to, get up out of a chair to turn the television over. They've never known that. This generation has always thought, Michael Jackson was white. So how do we expect them to think like we do? And yet, and we do that. And so the challenge for a parent is to kind of take themselves out of themselves and look at it from a completely different perspective. So, I've done this seminar in lots of different places. It's great for coaches so they can be in the room. It's great for the parents and any other mentors for athletes who want to go to a different level, or you want the program to go to a different level. The head coach at Wimbledon says, there's no point in having a great program if the parents are not great as well, because the two go hand in hand. And so the whole evening or session is geared to giving them some tools on how to manage their own state of mind. See, if they're in a good mood, that spreads to the children. If they're in a bad mood, that spreads to the children also. And so it's being very mindful of what is their own state of mind, because it has an impact on everybody around them. And likewise, how do they communicate with their son or daughter when they're not in the right frame of mind? So, all told, it's can we give the parents the tools, the ideas, the concepts that it's going to add value to your club. It's going to help the coach manage difficult relationships. It's going to give the parents a different perspective on those relationships with coaches, but also that relationship with with the kid. Quick example, one of a client that I worked with, she was a prospective England badminton player, and the parents brought me in. I worked with the girl for about 3 years, and what was really interesting, there was one point, and this is a topic in the seminar called the kitchen is for cooking, and Sonia, who happens to be a good friend of mine now, but Sonia's the parent, and Amy was at the kitchen sink peeling carrots innocently, and Sonia said to her, "Do you want to be an England player? Do you want to be an England player?" And at the kitchen sink, and I said, "Sonia, right now she just wants to be a 12-year-old girl." And so there's a time and a place for the parent to have the performance conversation or the performance chat with the aspiring athlete, and so we can give them those tools and those ideas and those concepts. So I hope that's given you some idea of what the session's about. It's a valuable evening. I've done this session at football clubs like Liverpool, for the parents of the academy there, lots of academies like Wimbledon, golf, and looking forward to coming to work with you and your team, your clubs in the very near future.